Harold Lloyd was missing the thumb and index finger of his right hand when he hung from that clock. Not in the movie. In real life, 3 years before filming even started. And he spent the rest of his career making sure nobody in the audience found out. On August 24th, 1919, Lloyd was at a photography studio in Los Angeles for a publicity shoot. A prop bomb he was holding detonated in his hand. The explosion took his right thumb and index finger and temporarily cost him his sight. Doctors were not certain his vision would come back. It did, after months of recovery, but his hand was changed permanently. He was 26 years old, already one of the most popular comedic performers in silent film, and now he had to figure out what came next. What came next was a prosthetic glove. Lloyd had one specially made with a convincing false thumb and index finger built into the right hand. He wore it in every film he made from that point forward. It was good enough that audiences watching his movies in theaters had no idea it was there. 4 years after the accident, Safetylast came out. It is a comedy about a young man from a small town who moves to the city, gets a job at a department store, and in a desperate bid to impress his boss, arranges a publicity stunt where a professional human fly will climb the outside of the building. Then the human fly cannot do it. So the young man has to climb the building himself. The climb that follows is almost 12 minutes of continuous screen time. No cutaways to something else. No dramatic score telling you when to feel tense. Just Lloyd, the building, and an increasingly catastrophic series of problems that keep pulling him higher than he ever meant to go. The most famous shot is near the top. Lloyd grabs the hands of a large clock mounted on the building facade and hangs there. The city spread out below him, nothing visible between him and the street far below. That image became one of the most reproduced photographs in cinema history. Here is how it was done. The crew filmed on the facades of real buildings in Los Angeles, but on lower floors than it appears. Careful camera placement showed the street through the angle and created the illusion of extreme height. But even with that technique, Lloyd was still genuinely several stories up in multiple shots. There was a small platform just below the clock frame. It was not exactly reassuring. Lloyd did much of the physical work himself. He was not reckless about it, but he did not hand everything off to a double either. After 1919, he had decided the accident was not going to define what he was capable of. So he kept doing things that looked terrifying, because most of them were at least a little terrifying. In the clock shot, both of Lloyd's hands are fully visible on screen. The prosthetic glove is on his right hand. Audiences in 1923 watched a man grip that clock face and had no idea 2 of the fingers they were looking at were not real. Safetylast was a major hit. It cemented Harold Lloyd alongside Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton as one of the 3 dominant stars of silent film comedy. The clock image ended up in film encyclopedias, advertising, fine art collections, and parody for the next 100 years. Lloyd rarely discussed the 1919 accident publicly during his peak years. He talked about it more openly in later interviews, but by then the films had already made his reputation. The prosthetic worked. The career survived. The stunts looked convincing because the man doing them was completely committed. Safetylast was released in 1923, which puts it firmly in the public domain in the United States. No copyright complications, no licensing fees. The full film is available to stream free on the Internet Archive exactly as audiences saw it over 100 years ago. What makes the comedy work is that Lloyd's character is always one mistake from catastrophe. The whole film is built around the feeling that everything is about to go wrong and somehow not quite going wrong yet. Lloyd understood that feeling better than almost anyone in Hollywood. He had lived it. If you have never actually watched The Climb, it holds up. A century of film technology later, and it still works. The full film is linked in the description, completely free. And if you want more stories like this one, follow The Real Vault. There is a lot more film history that nobody taught you.